Anonymous say, Shifu, I am preparing to be a monastic. Now I'm in the observation period, but I'm feeling restless staying indoor all the time. How should I cope with cabin fever? How do we deal with long periods of isolation? The first thought that came to mind was, if you are preparing to be a monastic, you shouldn't be anonymous. Huh? Yeah, but for in some tradition and for some people, when they want to prepare for ordination, they must keep it an absolute secret because they are afraid of obstacles coming to obstruct them. Yeah. So they hush, hush, don't tell anybody. And suddenly, boom, ordained already. Yeah. Uh, there's the fear that, if you declare it to the whole world, then your yuan qing zai will come and obstruct you. It does happen. I think it does happen when you want to do something wholesome. Sometimes people don't like wholesome things, then they come and obstruct you. But the most powerful obstruction is our own internal obstruction. Yeah. So for example, this person's question, I don't know whether this is a male or female, but this person asked, now I'm in the observation period, but I'm feeling restless staying indoor all the time. How should I cope with cabin fever? First thing is, don't think that you are having cabin fever. Yeah. It's just restlessness. It's just getting used to it. Yeah. Last year we had the circuit breaker, about 2-3 months, I think. And then some students asked, like, Sifu, how are you? Are you okay? Like, how are you coping? Then I'm like, nothing much. And then they're like, wow, quite tough. Stay, cannot go out and things like that. I'm like, welcome to our world. To tell you the truth, even when I was staying in the monastery, except for when I'm required to go to the dining hall, to the Wuguantang for meals, and when I'm required to go for meeting or to go and conduct classes, I don't even go around the monastery. Yeah, I really don't go. I don't say that is a virtue. Yeah, I'm just like that. I don't have any interest to go anywhere. So for me, not to mention going out of the house. I don't even have any interest to go for a tour, actually. Yeah, since young. Yeah, so now going for a tour, not getting to travel, it's like a non-smoker not getting to smoke. So I don't smoke anyway. So how to cope? Again, the first thing is, don't think you have cabin fever. Yeah, because the moment you think you have cabin fever, we tend to think, oh, I'm actually having, I'm suffering from a psychological or medical condition, and so, jialat. Think about it this way. Anytime you feel restless, go and observe what is happening. It's the same as doing meditation. Yeah, it's the same as doing meditation. When we are meditating, sometimes we may have thoughts, sometimes we don't have thoughts. Sometimes the thoughts may be about the past or about the future. Sometimes we may be thinking about what we are doing now. And sometimes we may have urges to move. Yeah, we have urges to move because maybe we want to pee, Maybe it's because it's itchy. Maybe it's because it's painful physically. Yeah. If it's because we feel like peeing, then we should examine, is it really that we need to pee? And if we need to pee, then just decide, I want to go and pee. Then stand up and pee. Yeah. But sometimes it's not because of objective reality that we need to move. Sometimes it's just a feeling. Yeah. A certain impulse. Call it whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But whatever it is, whatever impulse it is, I can repeat this 1,000 times. And there'll be people who cannot do it. And because they cannot do it, they feel that I'm just dismissing them. I'm not dismissing what you all go through. I know it's difficult. Yeah, I'm not saying it's easy. I never once say it's easy. Okay, if you go and listen to all my talks, I never say cultivation is easy. I never say going against our impulses is easy. I never say it's easy. Yeah, I always say it's difficult. I always say that you need to try and try and try. You need to do 100 times, 1,000 times. I always say you must keep doing it. That's what I always say. And I always say, if you keep doing it over time, you become easier. You become more natural. Yeah. But you will feel here and there. I also say that. I don't say you'll never feel. I never say you just hear about it, you do it, and then you never feel. No. So having a right attitude is very important. Right view, right mindset, even towards cultivation itself. So, is there restlessness? Yeah, we are human being. Human being belong to the sensual desire realm. Sensual desire realm, sentient beings have what features? They are easily distracted. They are drawn towards the senses. When you don't give them stimulus to the senses, they become restless. You give them stimulus to the senses, they are also restless. So it's normal to be restless. It's not that we don't get to go out, then we are restless, you know. Even when we get to go out, we are restless. It's just that because of this period that we are restricted from going out, then the restlessness becomes obvious. It's the same thing as, it's not that meditation causes us to have more thoughts and become restless. It's just that meditation helps us to see that there are all these thoughts and that there is restlessness. Don't get the causality wrong. Because if you get the causality wrong, then you are trying to solve the wrong problem. You know? Restlessness is part of how we are. But it's not an inherent thing also. Why are we restless? It's because in Buddhist teaching, we say that in past life, we tend towards restlessness. As a result, we get a rebirth that it tends towards restlessness. But it doesn't mean we must continue to go along with the restlessness. But if we go along with the restlessness, tomorrow we continue, we have a higher propensity, higher inclination towards restlessness. However, if we start going against that, going against the restlessness, we start to restrain ourselves so that we don't just restless, then we move, restless, then we move, fidget, 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 fidget. If we start to work against the grain, so to speak, then we plant small impulses, a different kind of impulse, impulses towards quietude, impulses towards resilience, towards self-control, towards inner strength. Then the next time, maybe the next sitting, maybe tomorrow, maybe next year, I don't know. Yeah, depend on how strong you plant the seed. Then the next time when you have the conditions that trigger the past restlessness, then other things come together. And what is it? The tendency to not be restless. Then it becomes easier. Then only then it becomes easier. By default, it's not easy. Because by default, we have been restless. Yeah, we have been restless. But all this is about how to do it. More importantly, we should ask ourselves why we should do it. Be it whether you are training to be a monastic or otherwise. Why should we do this? For example, how do we deal with long periods of isolation? At the first place, why are we isolated? Is there a good reason to be isolated? In this case, now, during this period, most people are isolated. Those who are not isolated, if given a choice, they may not want to not be isolated, no, because they are probably service personnel. They are frontline service medical professionals. If they have a choice, they may want to stay at home like us, because it's very dangerous. So that is part of the why for some people, why they have to be inside isolation. That's also why some people violate all these rules, because they don't accept the why. It makes sense? Think about it. What is so difficult about wearing a mask? What is so difficult about it? The how is not difficult. It's the why. It's always the why. Yeah, discomfort, but it's not such a big deal. So the how is not difficult. It's the why. They don't accept that wearing a mask is enough to stop the virus, or they think that their risk of getting a virus is not that strong versus their discomfort. So when they cannot accept the why, then they don't care. I don't wear a mask. Or maybe the penalty to them is not big enough. So they say, you fine me lah. I don't wear a mask. In case anybody cut this part and then tell people, say, oh, see this monk. I'm not saying that is right. Huh? I'm saying when you understand that it's mostly about the why, then you know where to work on. In the case of a monastic, it's not because there's COVID-19, then you don't go out. Because even after COVID-19 is over, and before COVID-19 started, monastics, by and large, don't go out if there's nothing to do. In part, because there is a rule. Yeah, there are rules that restrict us from happy going out to jalan-jalan. But more importantly, again, why is there such a rule? It's because we should be committing our life to the practice. Yeah, and when you go out and jalan-jalan, it distracts your mind, distracts you away from the practice then, and it conditions you towards distractions. So it impedes you from the practice. But still, that serves as part of the why, but it's also a how. It's a how in a sense of what? In a sense of, or rather it's a why also. It's a why, because why do you want to do it? You got to ask yourself, why do you want to do it also? Why do you want to not restrict yourself? Yeah, because as a monastic, you deem enlightenment as more important. I mean, otherwise, why else? Why else adopt a totally different lifestyle that is, by any measure of things, awkward? I mean, you just look at this group, right? 25 of us here today. How many people adopt this hairstyle? There are only a few kinds of people. The first type are those whose hair are losing, so they just shave. They are losing hair, so they just shave their hair. Marcel is not. And the second type are those who, against their own will, they have to cut their hair. BMT boys. Yeah. Then there are the third type. I mean, there are many other reasons. There are those who do it out of fashion nowadays. And then the fourth type are monastics. Yeah. There are those monastics, there may be some monastics who actually don't want to shave their head, no, but because the rule says to shave, then okay, shave. But there's a reason why as well. All this is to support us in our practice. Put on, you see, Sifu, they are either this color or orange color. If not, it's the Chinese Mahayana robes. But again, for me, not that I'm a good cultivator, but for me, it's like this is actually very simple for me. The year before I got ordained, I stopped buying new clothes. Yeah, in fact, before that, my wardrobe consists of light colored shirts and dark colored pants. I stopped buying much things as far as clothing is concerned. And I wasn't consciously thinking, I want to ordain soon, so I must start to dress a bit more subtle and be more like a cultivator. No, it was just a natural choice. Until the last year when I was going to ordain, at that point in time, I haven't even think about I want to ordain. I just naturally thought, I have enough clothing already. Like, what, like I start to see that buying new clothes as part of Chinese New Year is just a custom. It's not a necessity. And I just don't see the point. So I just don't buy. You know? Yeah. Sometimes we do things out of convention, sometimes out of custom, sometimes out of necessity. You know? Like for most part, Singaporeans don't eat because they're hungry. We eat because it's time to eat. We eat because of social gathering. How many people are really hungry in the evening? That hungry that they must have that meal. If you don't have that meal, you won't die. No, a lot of people have tried. You know, it's called the 8 precepts. So far, we don't have anybody who died because of that. Even those with gastric problem, a lot of them have this fear. But majority don't end up having problem when they don't take dinner. And it's because gastritis is due to a bacteria that live in our stomach that go out of control in population when we are under stress. And you know, it's incidental rather than causal because of us not eating dinner. It's actually a lot of other things. When we are stressed and so on and so forth, then our immune system go down, in particular the part with the stomach, then the thing overpopulate and then start to eat the mucus layer that protects our stomach. Yeah, so it's very interesting. We have to always go back to the why. Ask ourselves why we are doing something. Yeah, so to Anonymous, congratulations on your decision to take up the ropes, yeah, to walk the path, yeah, sadhu, 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 whoever it is, yeah. But instead of, when you say preparing to be a monastic, I don't know what kind of preparation you are doing, yeah. Rightly speaking, you should consult your to-be preceptor on what to prepare. But if I may add, you are not asking me, but perhaps I can position it as an answer to your question, how should I cope with cabin fever and so on. In your preparation, you should be reflecting on the purpose of your pursuit in the monastic path. You should be reflecting a lot more on the benefits of nirvana and reflecting on the thoughts and danger of samsaric existence, of lay life, of a life of a householder. I don't say that this is a prerequisite for everybody to do this reflection, because there are some people who quite naturally is not so keen on the household life. And the moment they hear the Dhamma, they have like yeah, very strong faith and interest and so on already. So they don't have to do that much more preparation. Yeah, but there are those who they get inspired by certain venerables, they get inspired by certain teachings, but just enough to have the thought, I want to ordain, but still not strong enough. Yeah, so the preparation stage, we should do this. Yeah, in Chinese is 好要涅槃，厌患生死. Yeah, yeah. So do this reflection. When you do this reflection strong enough, um, more thoroughly, then it strengthens the why you are taking up the robes. And if you have a good reason for doing it, then restlessness is not an issue. Will it arise? Yes, it will still arise because you're not Arahant yet. Only until you attain Arahanthood, then you remove restlessness. It's one of the upper 5 factors. You know, so like big deal, right? You have restlessness. Everybody has restlessness. It's what you do as a result. And if you have enough good reason for the why, even when restlessness arises, you can deal with it. You can deal with it. And even if people talk about cabin fever, you say, yeah, we can call it cabin fever. Yeah, but cabin fever or restlessness, when it arises, I deal with it. No problem. You must have this mindset if you want to audit. Because don't think that you just shift the head, put on the ropes, then no more problem. No, it's not like that. It's only the start of your tackling of all the habitual tendencies. So you must be prepared to do serious work. Okay? Before I wrap up, I just want to address, is shaving of the head a practical rebellious behavior that became a tradition after generations? I know that it was a practical practical thing to do. Not sure whether it's rebellious. I don't know how you, maybe you look at it as a rebellious act. I have seen certain commentary or explanation that tend towards this act being rebellious. Call it rebellious, call it practical, whatever you want to call it. But from what I know, there were a few reasons why that was done, and one of them being that before the Buddha, there were already ascetics, and there were ascetics who shave off their head, not head, hair, hair, yeah, and it has to do with how in the culture back then, I think there is this notion even until now that maintaining your hair is very important. Yeah, and even until today, your hair is a huge part of your identity. Believe it or not, you don't know until you shave your hair. Yeah, until you shave your hair, you don't know. Yeah, you shave off your hair. For one, it breaks your notion of who you are, and more importantly, your beauty. Your beauty is gone, even for guys. Yeah. Besides that, it was in part for hygiene purposes. Yeah, you shave your hair, not not that much things to maintain. Yeah, so I would say it was in part so-called religious in a sense, but a huge part of it was practical as well. Oh, yeah. Is it a rebellious act? I don't know whether it's rebellious. I don't see any such description inside the text. Yeah. Okay. 愿消三障诸烦恼，
愿消三障除烦恼，
愿得智慧真明了，
愿得智慧真明了。
不愿罪障悉消除，
不愿罪障悉消除，
世世常行菩萨道。
世世常行菩萨道。
阿弥陀佛。
阿弥陀佛。
Here we meet again, may be guided and protected by the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And as always,
乖乖。
乖乖。
乖乖，
Okay.
感恩师父，乖乖。
Have a reflective day ahead.
Thank you, 师傅。
Take care. Stay
再见
safe.
师傅，阿弥陀佛。
Thank you, 师傅。
Bye.
Thank you，师父。
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, Lama. Bye, all the Lama.
Thank you.
Thank you.